welcome to part 2 of this week's Cats Whiskers podcast, Nothing But Good Things. In this part, we'll be talking to new Panthers netminder Miika Wiikman, we'll be looking at the rest of the Panthers signings, and we'll also be looking at the rest of the Elite League and analysing how Braehead and Sheffield will get on in the Champions Hockey League. But it's back to the show. On May the 21st, it was announced that Miika Wiikman would be the new netminder for the Nottingham Panthers, which meant the end of a golden era as Craig Kowalski won't be coming back to the club. Obviously, we did an interview with him a couple of weeks ago, which is on the Cats Whiskers website and on our Spreaker site and on iTunes if you want to have a listen to that. Guys, I'll start with you, Aaron. Do you think it was the right decision to release Craig Kowalski?
Well,
I think I agree with whatever Aaron says. It's easy.
I really don't know how to answer that, to be honest, because you have to. Well, it's so hard. You have to look at it as two ways. You have to look at it as in the sense of the club. You know, it's a sporting team, obviously, but it's also a business. And then you look at the fact that what Kowal has brought to the Nottingham Panthers over the 5 years that he's been here. I personally would have re-signed him, but there is a small percentage of me that if you take kind of the emotion out of it and everything that goes with those emotions, I can kind of understand why, as a organisation, they thought they had to go a different way. One thing that I would say is, if you listening to the interview and listening to Kowalski, he makes some very good points about people have said that he's very injury prone over the last few years. You can't help a forward just skating straight into you and breaking your collarbone. That's not injury prone. That is an accident. You know, the other injuries that some of them that he's had, has occurred through an incident or something like that. Yes, the groin injury that he had, you would say that is, quite a severe injury, and that's obviously going to have an effect. But I think that was a very valid point that he made regarding the fact that he doesn't class himself as injury prone. He's just had a couple of unfortunate injuries, to say.
Saying it was strange that I disagreed with Aaron. Something even stranger.
You're going to disagree again?
No, I'm not. That's the thing. I agree with that. That's almost exactly, what I was, what my thoughts on the matter. That it's sad to see him go, but these things do come to an end. The concern I had at the time, earlier last season was, that was 2 fairly major groin injuries in 2 seasons. And we know when you're a goalie, the ability to stretch and move like that is hugely important. But I think what has got to happen now is that sad as it is, because I would have had him back, but that decision, a different direction has been chosen. Yeah. We've got to move on as fans now. We can't sit here going, Kowalski would have saved that.
Yeah, I think
because you might as well say Trevor Robbins would have saved it, and that's how long ago is that? We've now got Wiikman, however you pronounce it, in goal. We've got to get behind him, and great as Kowalski was, he'll always be remembered, but he's the past now. We have to move forward.
Yeah, and I totally agree, and we have to get behind Miika Wiikman. As much as I would have loved to see Kowalski come back for another season, because I think he was superb when he initially came back from injury last season. I think he earned another contract. The club have decided to go in a different direction, and it is sad, and Craig Kowalski is a legend for the Nottingham Panthers, but the decision's been taken, and I think Miika Wiikman, it's not his fault. He deserves to get the support of the fans when he comes in.
Exactly.
Do you know what? One thing, I think you have to look at it from a club point of view as well. What do you do when you've got a month into the season and Kowal gets injured again? It's very hard to then go and get a decent netminder because they've been snapped up. And I think you have to look at it from that sense as well. That maybe it was just very bad timing with the incident that happened with Westgarth at the end of last season. So it's difficult.
So I managed to speak to Miika Wiikman this past weekend about his signing. I also asked him if he felt there was any pressure from taking over from Craig Kowalski. Here's what he had to say. Delighted to welcome to the Cats Whiskers podcast the new man between the pipes for the Nottingham Panthers this season. It's Miika Wiikman. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for joining us for this interview. Are you excited to be coming to Nottingham?
Oh, of course. I've been excited the last couple of weeks here, and especially when with all the welcome wishes from all the fans, and it seems that the fan base is really big, and I'm really excited to come to Nottingham and play in front of those fans.
Yeah, I've noticed that on Twitter you've been very much engaging with all the fans, and I think you said it actually really sort of blew you away with the welcome that you got. Oh
yeah, it's way bigger than any team I've joined here in Finland or wherever I may have played. And it's so much different. It just feels so good, and it's surprising. I didn't know that the hockey is that big in the UK.
Mm-hmm. What did you know about the Elite League and the Panthers in particular before you joined?
Pretty much nothing. I spoke to some guys that play there, and they said that it's actually a very underrated league, and that's what I believe it's too, because I think among the Scandinavians it's pretty unknown, and I think a lot of people believe that it's more like fighting league. Mm. But I don't know if that's the truth. I think I've seen there's a lot of imports from North America, so it's got to be a good league, and I think the league is on its way up.
Mm. I mean, looking at your career up to this point, you've spent obviously a lot of time in the top leagues in Finland. You spent 3 years in North America in the AHL and ECHL. Mm-hmm. You've had excellent stats throughout that time. Just having that more rounded career where you've been to North America, you've played obviously most of your career in Scandinavia. Does that make you into a more rounded netminder, or is it just you go wherever the opportunities are?
I always try to find a good team to play for, a team that has a chance to win something, that has high ambitions, mm-hmm. And because I'm very competitive and I want to win. So I try to go there where I have a good chance to win. If I don't have any other options, I just go where I know I'm going to get some playing time.
Mm. Of course, looking at the defence that Panthers have recruited so far, obviously there's our British guys, Steve Lee, Paul Swindlehurst, who are both Great Britain internationals. There's Sam Oakford. And then it's been recently announced that our imports, you've got Theo Peckham, Jeff Dimon, and Brian Schmidt, who is coming back for his second season. Do you know anything of these guys?
I played against Theo a couple of times in the American Hockey League, and we played together this season for a couple of games only. But I know Theo's a great D-man, and I know he's going to take care of the D-zone, and I'm really happy with that signing. And I think, if you got guys playing for a national team, they can't be that bad either. So it's looking pretty solid on the defensive side.
Of course, we've had our netminder Craig Kowalski, who spent 5 years with the Panthers before obviously you coming along. Does that put any pressure on you with Kowalski being so revered by the Panthers fans and doing so well over the 5 years he was here? Does that put pressure on you coming in to the Panthers?
I mean, I try not to think about stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to focus on what I can do, and it's really nothing I can change.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna try to come in and do my best and try to win as many games as possible and championships as possible. So that's all I can do. I can't really think about the past.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, I saw from Twitter that you're actually quite a big Forest fan.
Yes, that's true.
So you obviously get to a few matches while you're over here.
Oh, I really hope so.
Yeah.
It's It's been my favorite team since I was a kid. The biggest favorite team that I have.
Yeah.
With the IFK Gothenburg. So.
Yeah, it's mine as well, but unfortunately they're not as good as what they used to be. But yeah, that must be sort of a bit of an attraction for you to be able to come over and actually see a game.
Yeah, of course.
Well, Miika, I want to say thank you very, very much for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the time, and good luck, and we look forward to seeing you in Nottingham in August.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to come to Nottingham and play some good ice hockey.
So that was new Panthers netminder Miika Wiikman. I think one of the things that I got from speaking to him, and we spoke a little bit off recording, he's so positive and he literally cannot wait to get here and get started. And I think that came across.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I would say about him, from the interviews and listening to them. He accepts that he's coming into a place where the previous netminder is seen as a hero and as a legend. He doesn't seem fazed by that. He accepts that, and he's, like you say, very positive about coming here and following in that netminder's footsteps. And I think that's really great. That's what I would want to see. I don't want to see or even hear a netminder sort of freeze in that situation and really feel the pressure already. It's like he's thriving on that pressure. And I think that's really, really positive. Looking at his stats, he hasn't played that many games, you would say.
He's played at a very, very high level, though, consistently at a high level.
He has, and I do think they are very good, numbers. You're talking, maybe on average, possibly just under 2 goals a game, maybe. 2 goals a game if you want to be dead on there. That'll do for me coming into this league with those stats in his previous clubs, like you say, at the high level that he's played at. And do you know what I like as well? He seems a character. And I think we've kind of been missing that maybe the last few seasons. We obviously had David Ling when we won the Grand Slam, but it's nice to see a few characters being, signed on our roster. And I think he's going to embrace it. And like we said earlier, we've got to give him time. We can't be going, like Paul says, oh, well, Kwell would have saved that. Kwell wouldn't have let that in. This is a new dawn. It's a new start. And we just need to give him time, and hopefully he'll settle in nice and quick, and the defence will support him. And I think that's a big thing as well. It's pretty much a brand new defence import-wise. So I think they're all in it together. And I think we could be maybe looking at a decent netminder for us.
I think I agree. Yeah, I mean, especially the bit about how keen he is to play for us. That's something you always want to see, isn't it? As a fan, you don't want players who are just turning up to pick up a paycheck. You want people who are going to go out there and I don't want to get cliched again, but play for the shirt. And I'm not entirely sure about him being a Forest fan though.
Hey, no.
Hey, come on! I like being miserable. County all the way.
I knew there's a reason we got rid of you.
Division 4, here we come.
Back where you belong. Right, no, that's all the county fans gone, all 3 of them. Moving on seamlessly.
I'm not here, I've gone.
Theo Peckham, which was probably the worst kept secret in the entire Elite League, after various leaks on social media from the man himself as well. I thought he played a blinder with that. He was announced as signing on the 27th of May. He comes from Wichita Thunder in the ECHL, but has had 160 NHL games for the Edmonton Oilers, and he's still only 27 years old. Aaron, some have questioned his attitude since he signed and pointed to the fact that he's had a few clubs since he left the Oilers. Do you think that's an issue?
No, it'll only be an issue if Theo Peckham wants it to become an issue, to be honest. 160 games in the show, 27 like you said. He's got the opportunity to be an absolute star in this league. He really has. And if he has the right attitude, I'm 100% certain he will be that star in this league. But he has got to have that attitude. This is the problem, isn't it, when people say ex-NHLers or whatever. But there's ex-NHLers and then there's ex-NHLers. You know, like we just said, this is a guy that not that long ago was regularly turning out for the Oilers and getting minutes, and he did a job for his team over there. And I think he's coming over to this league, I imagine, to not just be that player that he was for the Oilers. I mean, you know, I would hope to see him putting up numbers in this league and for us. And again, another character. I'm really looking forward to seeing, you know, what he is like on that ice. And I think he's going to be on the top line with Dimon. I think that's going to be our first line. And one thing that I would say about Theo Peckham, and I'm talking to the Elite League refs here, they have got to let him play his game. Because if you watch some of the clips, he obviously likes mid-ice, hip checks, he likes to be physical. What we cannot see is what happened with Kevin Westgarth. The first hit he does, he gets chucked into the box or gets kicked out of the game. Let these guys play their natural game. If they're going to come to this league, you've got to let them play their game. And I think other clubs are signing players with the same type of attitude. Let's get back to that kind of hockey that, you know, the Elite League used to be. So, very exciting.
But you say get back to that. I remember we signed Darcy Lowen back in what, 99?
Yeah. That's going back a bit. Yeah.
First game he played, first check he threw, he got a 10-minute penalty, and it was absolute beauty. Unfortunately, this is nothing new, but you know you're entirely right, and that's what slightly concerns me about, you know, the people we signing. You look on YouTube or whatever, and you know there's one of Dimon throwing an absolute great check that would have got him thrown out in this league. That, you know, there's hundreds of Peckham doing the same. The referees have got to get it right, or we could have a problem.
But you see, we're known as this we follow the North American style of hockey. We're not a European style of hockey where checking and hitting isn't really allowed. But I think the problem is some of these people have the reputations, and it's kind of like, you know, I don't know, you know, you'd have to get, say, Tom Darnell on here to ask him, but sort of make up their, you know, prejudgment that he's going to be physical and he's going to make that mid-ice hit. And the thing is, if he makes that hit, he's going to make it. You know, he's not going in there 50%. He's going to go in there 100%, and he's going to finish that hit.
Yeah.
And it's going to look hard, and the other player I wouldn't like to be on the receiving end. But, you know, isn't that hockey? And
well, exactly.
When I say get back to that game,
yeah.
I mean that, you know, from maybe a Panthers point of view and the league.
That's what we should be getting back to, yes.
Yeah. We haven't really seen that personally. And I think what we can't have, like I say, is what happened with Westgarth, and we cannot have, and I know it's slightly different, but what happened with Henley, because it's just a waste of an import. But
you're right about, you know, NHLers throwing checks, you know, 100%, because that was about the only thing Westgarth ever did 100% was going to Kowalski.
Talking about the NHL though, Paul, do you think that puts extra pressure on him because he's got that NHL background?
Only from the fans, I think. I mean, you know, you listened to what Paul Swindlehurst was saying earlier about, you know, that the way he looks at it is it's an opportunity to play with somebody. Oh, he's played in the NHL. I'm going to learn so much from him. But I think if there is any pressure, it's from the fans. Oh, because he's played in the NHL. I mean, look at how many people were disappointed when we signed Anthony Stewart. You know, because you know that they look at the NHL, they look at the superstars, they look at all the other people, and you know these are the best in the world. But you know there are also people playing roles who are the best in the world at playing those roles. So, you know, is Peckham going to be the best player we've ever seen over here? No. But by the same token, does he have to be? I don't think he does. If he can come in and plays a role and it sits at the the cornerstone of our defence, that is what Nielsen is going to want from him. And if he comes in and does that, he won't go far wrong.
Day after Peckham signed, another signing from Wichita Thunder, Erick Lizon, first import forward that we've signed for next season, a 29-year-old, and I think it's fair to say an enforcer, looking at the penalty minutes he's picked up over his career. Aaron, is this the sort of player we was missing last season?
Well, I think if you would ask 100 Panthers fans, then probably 90% of them would say yes, it is. I'm going to say the word again, but he looks another character. You know, you only have to YouTube and look at his stats to see that he's not afraid to drop the gloves. I think in that respect, he's also got to come over here and put some, you know, numbers up as well on the, you know, the goals and the assist point of view. But we have added something that we didn't have last season, and that is one thing that I think as a fan base we cannot say that anymore. We cannot say that we haven't got toughness, you know, because in Lizon and, you know, in the defence that we've signed, we've got strength, we've got toughness, and it'll be interesting to see how other teams, you know, now come into the Capital FM arena. They're going to come in knowing that if they're going to take points off us, they're going to have to work for it, and they're probably going to have to get a little bit physical with us. And I think that's really, really good. But what I would say is he can't just be an enforcer. He's got to assist and put up points in other columns as well.
So, Paul, I mean, he's clear he's made his career as a fighter, but do his stats suggest there is that extra to his game where he can put the points up?
Looking at last season, possibly. I mean, what was it? 71 games, 18 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
And that's probably playing on the fourth... a role on the fourth line as well.
Yeah, but the rest of his career... doesn't really, but... I mean, but, you know, we've seen people come over here before. I mean... Look at something like Kalle Karlsson. You look at his stats in Sweden, and they're not. You know, you look at the numbers he puts up, you know, offensively, and you think, well, there's not really that many there. But when he was over here, he could score. I think, you know, what Aaron was saying, you know, was right. You know, he can't just come over here and be the goon who goes around hitting people. But you know, if you do go on YouTube, there is a compilation of his fights where he's bringing plenty of character to the game, including laughing at his opponent while he hits him and having a conversation with somebody else while he hits him. And there is a short cameo of David Alexander Beauregard as well. Not fighting, though, not fighting.
And something going back to Theo Peckham, and obviously we brought in Erick Lizon as the enforcer, but Peckham's got a hard man reputation. Can you see Peckham dropping the gloves?
Not a lot. I think he'll have to. I think, and if it's likely to, it'll be fairly early on in the season where somebody will want to try their luck with him. I'm looking at you, Zach Fitzgerald. But so I think it'll happen. I mean, look at Guy Lepine when he was over here. Yeah, he had to have a few fights till people realised, hang on, I don't really want to fight him. So he'll probably have to prove his mettle, but I can't see it happening a lot.
I've now got Sheffield. I can hear Sheffield fans going, but Colt King gave him a right beating. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, what did they win that year?
Nothing.
That fight. Yeah.
We'll move on quickly, I think.
Before I upset everybody tonight. Yeah.
The final signing before this podcast was made on June 2nd. Geoff Waugh. Or Waugh? He says Waugh. What is he good?
Don't go down the Waugh route.
What is he good for? Quite a lot, hopefully. He signs from Austria, 31-year-old D-man, lots of experience. Seems a very solid stay-at-home guy, Aaron.
Yeah, I think, you know, looking at that and maybe taking into consideration the other imports on D, I think obviously you come to the conclusion that he is a pretty much stay-at-home kind of guy. Like I said earlier on in the podcast, I would have liked somebody maybe a little bit more offensive, and I would have ideally liked a left-hander. But you know, who am I to criticise? Like you say, his numbers pretty much say that he's going to look after the one thing that he's employed to do, and that's the defence. So as long as he does that, clears the puck, protects Wiikman, I think it'll be a pretty solid signing.
Paul, that now completes an 8-man defence. How do you rate it? Say compared to last season, which was I thought was a pretty good defence.
I think it compares pretty well, if I'm honest. Going back a month, and all we'd got sort of import-wise was Brian Schmidt. And you look at it now, we've got a defence where Brian Schmidt is probably about 5th or 6th D-man. That's not bad. I think we're a lot bigger than we were last season. Maybe not as quick, but maybe, you know, that quick defence, including Brian Schmidt, was signed for the C8 with the CHL in mind.
So looking at the Panthers roster so far, and the British contingent for me really stands out. You've got Dan Green coming back as backup. In defence, you've got Steve Lee, Sam Oakford and Paul Swindlehurst. Forwards, Oliver Betteridge, David Clark, Robert Varmer and Matthew Myers. With I expect another Brit to be added to that forward roster. I would hope probably Robert Lakovic, but who knows at this stage. Do you feel that Panthers have got the best British contingent in the league when compared to other Elite League sides?
I think it would be difficult to offer one that was as good, at least. You know, we were talking about Sheffield's earlier. Is theirs as good as ours? I don't think so. I mean, obviously they've got the two golden children of British ice hockey at the moment, you know, Connor and Dowd. What else?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose Geoff Waugh retiring, which is quite sad because he gave the Steelers some sterling service, but he certainly gave us some sterling service over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that, you know, that's happened. You know, we talked to him a while ago, and he was David Clark's testimonial, I think it was, and he was having problems then, and I don't really think he's ever really come back from that, has he?
No, probably not.
So not for any sort of period of time.
But sad to see him retire. I mean, a quality professional, I think.
Yeah, I agree. He was one of those players who sort of gave whatever he had to his club, and you've got to admire somebody who can do that, for that length of time.
Aaron, Panthers Brits, how do you feel about the makeup of that so far?
I think we've got an excellent Brit core. A bit like Paul said earlier, I don't. You offer me one that's the same quality, I think you'll struggle. I think other teams, yes, they have their number one Brits or whatever, but I think as an overall Brit core, I think we've got a fantastic mixture of youth, experience. People like Farmer and Stevie Lee that seem to have been around for years. They're still mid-20s and have probably still got their best years ahead of them. Bringing Matthew Myers back in adds that little bit more experience with David Clark. And then it's really pleasing to see players, like Betteridge and Swindlehurst being with us full time. Oakford again getting another season with us. So for me, we've got the best Brit core. And like you said earlier, there might just be another one added to that as well.
So we now have 15 signings, with another 7 to come to make a full roster of 22. 6 of those will be imports. Paul, I would think that it's now going to be 7 forward signings. You did say at the beginning of the last season you didn't know where the goals were going to come from, and you was ultimately proved right.
Yay!
What would you like to see in these 7 remaining signings?
Goal scorers.
Yeah, but what sort of balance? What sort of mixture? Yeah, I mean,
good goal scorers.
Yeah. But would you like to see any more toughness come in? Or do you think it's now Corey should concentrate on getting some skillful players?
I think he's got to. I think we've got enough toughness now. I think it's a mistake to just say, we only need one tough player. We've got more than that now, so I think that's covered now. We need the replacements for Doucette. We need the replacements for Higgins or whatever, or some of the other. I can't remember. Who else have we got playing for us last year? I can't remember now.
Lawrence.
We don't need a replacement for Lawrence. But it's the finesse players that can be protected by the players we've got now.
Aaron?
I said it at the very start, to be honest. People that know where the net is can put the puck in the net. But one thing that also I think we need to look at these 6 forwards, import forwards, chemistry. We've got to find a line that really does click, and I think it's all right having the stats and stuff, but personalities have got to be correct as well. I think that is one of the major factors why we did the Grand Slam, is that everything just clicked. It was real harmony in that locker room. So we need a bit of creativity. We need, people that can score the goals but also assist. I don't think we need any more toughness at all. We've not even mentioned the, #Farminator. It'll still be one of the he'll still be one of the toughest guys in this league next season. I tell you that for a penny.
Joking aside, I think Aaron's right. So somebody like Farmer now he's got the other sort of tough players to back him up.
Oh, he can be.
The way we were talking about him running games, winding people up, getting in people's faces.
He's going to
be in his element.
He's going to be getting Caps Banter Army's ball bag of the week every week for the whole of next season.
Well, unless Joseph Grimaldi reappears, is there actually any better compliment for an opposition player than being ball bag of the week?
I tell you one thing as well, though.
That he's doing something right.
I tell you one thing that we do need to have next season as well. We've got to be looking for power play specialists and people that can score a bleeding penalty shot, because the amount of games we lost,
not just a penalty shot, but a bleeding penalty.
Yeah, trust me. Once you were in the Sky Dome for 7 hours after the full 65, trust me, we need somebody that can score a penalty shot. But
trust me, last time I were in the Sky Dome, I went there 7 minutes later.
But it is those little things that can just get you that extra point that come the end of the season can make a massive difference. So we need the goal scorers in the game, but we need some specialists. We need a power play specialist. We need a penalty shot specialist. Where's our PK going to come from the forward line? So it like I said at the very start, we've got a good foundation now, but it's only the house is only half built. We've got to go out there and really get some top quality forwards. And I do think Corey will do that, because I think it would be a waste of what he's done so far and the roster that he's recruited so far to go mediocre, would I say, on forward lines. I think he's made a statement of intent with his defence, and I think he'll back that up with his forward signings as well.
Okay, moving on and looking at news around the Elite League, and the CHL draw, Champions Hockey League, was made on the 13th of May. Sheffield and Braehead will be taking part in that. Sheffield will be facing Frölunda of Sweden and Jyväskylä of Finland. Braehead facing Ingolstadt of the DEL in Germany and Vaxo Lakers also of Sweden. Paul, I'll come to you first. Do you think either of them can win a game?
You've really got it in for me, haven't you? Have you been storing these up? Possibly, but it will be difficult.
Aaron?
Yeah, they could do. It's 50-50. Would you, did we think we'd win a game?
I think putting our optimistic heads on, we did. I think
you might have done.
I think we didn't expect to win the game that we actually did.
No.
If I'm honest. But
what I would say is they've got tough draws.
Yeah.
I think Braehead's got if you would say, a better draw than Sheffield. But if they win a game, it'll be their home games.
Sheffield are playing two top quality sides. I think Sheffield will be doing well if they actually win a period in one of those. And I'm not being disrespectful. I think they're playing teams that are that good that they will be doing very, very well to take a period off one of those teams. I think Braehead, I think they'll be struggling against Vaxo because they're quality. Ingolstadt, we all know that the DEL is quality, but I think if they can catch Ingolstadt on a bad night, then they may get something out of there.
Yeah, I think that's the only real one you could look at and think they might have a chance there, but I still think it will be difficult for them and harder than it was for us to beat Hamburg.
Yeah. So, out of the other teams that are in the leagues, what rosters and signings have impressed you so far?
I think Coventry are picking up a few good players. Is that the Chuck Webber effect?
Yeah. Do you think do you think it was a surprise that he came back?
It was a thing that was never going to happen, wasn't it? Apparently, it was. There's no point even asking the question because he's too good for this league, and this, that, and the other, and he's back on a 2-year deal.
I believe it is, yeah.
Yeah, I probably did that in my research and then forgot it all again. But Belfast. I think Belfast are obviously looking to improve. Well, everyone, same as us looking to improve on last season. They've got they're bringing some good players in. I think it's going to be it's too early to say until you see all the finished rosters, but it's going to be another competitive year.
Aaron, same question.
I'm intrigued with the kind of route that Belfast have taken, signing players that are from this league but have been with other teams. So realistically, you should know, what they can do, but can they do it for the Belfast Giants on, week in, week out? I think
they know what they're doing, and everybody else does at the same time.
Well, I was just going to say that as well, and it's very good doing that, but also, like Paul just said, everybody else knows what they're going to do as well. So I suppose it's a case of whether you can stop that.
I mean, they've actually on their roster so far only got one player who has not played in the Elite League previously, which is James Desmarais, I believe.
Yep.
Who was signed from the Swiss B League. So
who I have been told is absolutely quality. Apparently, he will have the X factor. That's what I've heard.
That guy. And from that, I think I know who you was talking to.
I think Cardiff as well. Signing Doucette from us, and also signing Salters from the Clan. I think that's really good. And also the re-signing of Joey Martin, I think, is very, very pivotal for them as well.
One thing I will say about Cardiff, though, and I think this is something that's not really been said much, but they're obviously leaving the Big Blue Tent. And they won't be in the Big Blue Tent from halfway through next season, going to a full-size pad. I reckon that the two different sizes of ice pad may actually be a disadvantage to them.
Yeah, but do you think that in the sense of who they've signed on their roster, or just in a general?
Just in a general way, because you're going to have have a team playing one way at home, and we all know that Cardiff are excellent in the Big Blue Tent. And then they're moving to their brand spanking new arena, which is absolutely great for them. But they're going on to a full size Olympic ice pad, and I don't know. I just wonder if there has to be Andrew Lord has to change the coaching style, because obviously it's going to be quite a difference for them.
Yeah, one thing I would say on that is though that everybody said that about them last year, that they would be awesome at home and then struggle away, and that ain't really that true. Because you don't come within a point of winning the Elite League by just on your home form. So they did go into the big arenas, like the NIC, like Sheffield, and they still performed. So you would think that would be an issue, but it wasn't such a massive issue last season as people thought it would be.
Yeah. Okay.
One thing that I want to ask, and I'm just going to take over presenting for this moment, because I think it's really important that you answer this question first, Jono.
Go on.
What do you think of the Steelers? Because obviously, they made a massive statement by sacking Gerard Adams. They made a massive statement by bringing in Paul Thompson. They're in the CHL. They won the league last year. They want to change the way that they play. The organisation is set up.
The Vikings are coming.
What do you think to the roster that they've signed? Because they're only one import away from completion. I think.
Yeah, I think a lot depends on their netminder. I wouldn't be surprised actually if they went for Craig Kowalski. I think something completely out of left field, but I wouldn't be shocked if Craig Kowalski went to Sheffield. Look, he's a proven quality netminder. Why wouldn't they look at him? As for their entire roster, I don't know, because they've got quite a few new players, so it's seeing how they gel and how they play. And it's like us last season, they've had to sign their roster early because of competing in the CHL and getting all the work permits through. I was surprised they sacked Gerard Adams. I was even more surprised that Paul Thompson was the replacement. Albeit Tomo has had 2 years' experience now on the continent, but still, I don't know. I know last season I said they didn't have enough depth and they wouldn't win the league, and then of course they won the league. But they did add like Ben O'Connor, which was a massive signing for them, sort of a couple of months into last season. I don't know. I think Brit-wise, Dowd and O'Connor accepted their week. I think the defence looks quite good. Obviously, Matuiwa and Fretter will still put the points up. Mosienko was a huge re-signing for them. I think that was massive. But I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to see how they gel in the first couple of months of the season. I mean, obviously, I hope they crash and burn, frankly, but I don't know. It's quite a mystery. It'd be interesting to see how they play.
Well, thank you for your insightful answer there. I think we all now realise why you ask the questions and not answer them. Paul, I'll just ask you quickly. What do you think? Like signing Fitzgerald, is that a statement of intent? And also, is the re-signing of Rod Sarich guaranteeing them another championship?
I think Jono might have just answered your question for me there. Paul Thompson's going to be looking around the league, seeing what other people are signing, and think, I need something to combat that. He's smart enough to know that everybody else has got, it's mutually assured destruction, isn't it? Everybody else has got a nuclear weapon. I need one. But it'll be interesting to see what happens first time he has a fight with somebody who isn't bothered, or who we're told isn't bothered. But
who could you possibly meet
when it happens? Sorry,
who could you possibly meet?
I can't remember now, if I'm honest.
I do think you make a good point there, though, about Fitzgerald. And one thing that I would say, and I'll ask you both, but do you think like Fitzgerald and Nickerson stepping up from the Gardner Conference, they obviously had a massive, job role in their teams in that conference, but they're going to be, you would say, possibly logging more minutes, playing a higher quality opposition on a more regular basis. Do you think those two can step up to the mark and actually achieve what is possibly now expected of them from their respective coaches?
They may be stepping up, in quality, and we could argue that one all night long. So don't really want to get into that. I think you'll actually find they'll probably end up playing less minutes.
Yeah,
because they'll be on bigger rosters probably, and not be the sort of the key players in those teams the way they might have been previously. But if we want to try and win some of the fans back that I've lost over the course of this evening, they'll probably get fewer bans now.
Jono?
Out of the two, I think I would have had Nickerson over Fitzgerald. I think Nickerson is the better player. If Panthers had signed him, I would have been quite happy. Fitzgerald, not so much. I think Nickerson is the all-round better defenseman. I think both are prone to doing stupid things and getting bans. Personally, I think Fitzgerald is a poor signing for Sheffield. I was surprised that Nickerson went to Belfast, but I think he'll do okay there.
Well, thank you for answering my question, and I'll hand the reins back over to you, Jonathan.
Right, I've only got to finish it up now. but thank you, Aaron, for taking over the presenting role for a couple of minutes. Stepping into my shoes there. Okay, so that...
can I just say, I will never step into your shoes because you're a size 7. So I'd have to buy new shoes, I'm afraid, because I'm absolutely a 10.
Mm. That's what you tell all the girls. Anyway, I think it's time we finished this show. So, Aaron, thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure, Jonathan, and a pleasure to speak to you, Paul Baum, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baum.
Yeah, I might be regretting coming back now.
I'm sure you won't be. And thank you very much to you for listening. Thank you very much also to Jeff Dimon, Miika Wiikman, and Paul Swindlehurst for taking the time to speak to us as well throughout the course of the show. We will be back later in the summer with another off-season podcast, but until then, thanks for listening and goodbye.